Alright guys, I'm going to try and make a couple of short little VODs here. This one in particular is sort of centered around how to take an asset that you already have that's on a larger unwrap and break it off and put it on its own texture so that you can use it everywhere and not have to load this huge big 1024 or 2048 texture. So what I want to do is actually take this cash register here and break it off and put it into this scene on this countertop here. The problem with that is I could just pull it in and place it there, but the issue with that is then anytime that building is loaded, what you're going to get is this cash register as well as the rest of this huge texture. So what I'm going to do is actually create a new object that's just the cash register with its texture basically pulled off and put back on there on a smaller texture, so that it's a little bit more efficient for the game to load it up. So let's get started. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is save this as a new file, and I'm going to save it under props, because it's not going to be tied to any specific building, because the one that it was made for was originally the diner. So I'm going to drop this into props, new folder, counter. Alright. And I'm going to name it cash register. Alright, I'm going to unhide everything and select and delete everything but what we want, which is just the cash register. Alright, so we've got that selected. I'm going to invert my selection and delete everything. Then I'm going to take and tell it to effect pivot only and then center it to the object so that I can more easily manipulate it without having to worry about grabbing the pivot way over here. And then I'm actually going to set it at 0, 0, 0, which is the origin. Alright, so now we have the cash register broken off by itself, but it's still using that full texture. If we look at it, see, still using that huge texture. So what I'm going to do, keep this one how it is, but I'm going to clone it and call the new one cash register. Alright, and then I'm going to drop an unwrap on it. Alright, so if you notice, it's up here in this corner. And if we look, there's the unwrap space that it's set to. First things first. Select everything and scale it to basically the full texture space. And as long as I don't change the fundamental way that it exists on the texture space, like I'm basically just doing moves and rotates and scales. I'm not, re-unwrapping it, stitching things. It's effectively the same size and shape that it was. I've just moved it a little bit. So with that done, and it was fairly quick, I'm going to collapse that down. And it's going to look screwy for the moment. What we want to then do is go rendering, let's see, where's render to texture? There we go. And I want to pick my projection modifier. I want to project from the diner elements. Since this is the same size, I'm just not going to use the cage. 0.1 meters should be fine. Add, we're just basically just going to do a diffuse texture. And I think, let's see how big it actually is on the texture space. I think it's about a 128 texture. But I could be wrong about that, so I'm going to check first. So there's a new texture. Yeah, I think it's bigger than this. I think it's a 256 at least. Oh yeah, easy. So yeah, just leave it at 256. Going to go to props counter and do I'm going to save this. We've been using PNGs because they're a little more efficient than other texture types. Cache underscore register DM PNG. Gonna hit save. I'm gonna set it to 24-bit with alpha channel, just so that I don't have to worry about the sections. And if you notice, it's spitting out some red here. So in order to not have it do that, I'm gonna throw a push modifier. On it and just move it just down just a little bit, just a hair, just enough to where I can see what's there. And I'm actually going to delete that push modifier once I'm done projecting. Alright, so overwrite the file and see the red's almost entirely gone, and it's only on the edges where it doesn't really even freaking matter. So let's open that in Photoshop and see what we've got. Props, counter, there's our cash register. And so now, whenever so the projection's a little weird. I'll see how that looks once I actually put it on the model. It has the potential to look weird, but we'll see. So, alright, so there's our texture. I'm actually going to name this one cash register underscore and do caps and do projection. PRJ, there we go. And now I'm going to clone it. I'll just call this one regular cash register and delete the projection modifier and the push modifier. And then, 1 second, someone's vacuuming. Alright, they've gone on the other side of the office now. So yeah, I'm going to actually add that texture. Open. And I'm going to assign that. And see what it looks like. See, it's a little darker than our original one. It's in fact just a lot darker. I might have to take a look and see exactly why that is. Okay, so hide that. I'm going to unhide. Actually, select Cash register, PRJ. Ah, it's because of all these photometric lights I have in the scene. Let me delete those. That would do it. Okay. Render to texture. And render. It's going to ask to overwrite. I'm going to say yes. Yeah, there we go. Now